So for tonight, is there any new people here, first time here this evening? Fantastic. So welcome to all the new people to the Georgia Meditation Center. Just to give you an idea of what you're in for tonight, I'll give you a bit of a kind of overview of what the night will look like. First and foremost, my name is Venerable Michael. This is Venerable Nick, and we are visiting monks who are in town for the next 2 weeks. So we'll have this Wednesday and the following Wednesday before we leave town. So typically how these classes work is we'll start off with a bit of a meditation tip, kind of covering some fundamentals so you can understand how to practice meditation more effectively. Then we'll do a guided 30-minute meditation, and that will be followed by some practical wisdom that we'll share with all of you that you can integrate back into your life once you leave. So that's kind of what we have in store for you tonight. And so with that, we'll go ahead and jump right into the meditation topic. And tonight it's going to be meditation as a state of being. And so this topic I feel like is very important because a lot of times people will create this very strong dichotomy between when we're sitting in meditation and when we are interacting with the outside world. And a lot of times it's difficult to bridge the gap between what we're doing in meditation, how does it translate to a better quality of life? How does it show up in our life? And what are some tips that we can utilize in order to make that inner peace that we feel when we meditate kind of merge into the rest of our day-to-day awareness? So that's what I want to share with you all tonight. It's very much an integration-based topic tonight, less so like practical tips inside of the meditation. But the good news is I find that when you can maintain more awareness in your day-to-day life, the actual sitting is so much easier because your mind is less out there, so it takes less time for it to come back to the body. So these tips hopefully will be very helpful for you, so we'll start off with those. So first, it will be helpful to take a look at what happens when we do not meditate. So when we do not meditate, typically we are engaging with the outside world through the 5 doorways of our 5 senses. Everything that we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, it will leave a specific impression on the mind. And if there are pleasant sensations that we experience and also pleasant mental formations, thoughts that arise within the mind, then this is going to give rise to a liking and a wanting more of these things. And however, when we engage with these things unmindfully, it can lead to a lot of craving, which adds to this greed, which is stirred up within the mind. And greed is this base impurity that colors the world in a way in which we're constantly hyper-focused on how we can get our needs met by the people, places, and things around us. So it really distorts our view. It distorts our capacity to see things clearly. And conversely, whenever we experience things that are unpleasant and we don't like them and we don't want them, it adds more anger to the mind as this base impurity. And it starts to seep its tendrils into our day-to-day awareness. We can be very irritable, we can become very frustrated, and we can be hyper-fixated on the things that the people, places, and things that we don't like. Even when we're not experiencing them in this present moment, the mind just gravitates towards them, and there's this anger that arises. So these 2 different realities, the mind is conditioned by these things, and these impurities are also compounded by ignorance, which is a not knowing. There's many things in this life that we do not know about ourselves, about other people, and about the world around us. And based off of that ignorance, based off of that not knowing, and based off of a very muddled perception, because our mind is so pulled by greed and anger, is we craft these views about ourselves, other people, and the world around us that are inaccurate. And the inaccurate views that we hold, that's what delusion is. Things we believe to be true, but they're actually false. And as we go throughout life, if we do so unmindfully, is we have this very clouded mind. Instead of this clear lens through which we view the world, it's like this dirty glass of water, and it's very difficult to see things clearly. So what happens when we absorb these different things from the outside world, both pleasant and unpleasant, and the mind keeps being pushed about by them, is it creates this internal pressure, much like a soda bottle that we shake up. And each time we're wanting that thing, that craving arises, it's like this internal pressure. It's this drive to think, speak, and behave in a way that we can get more of those things. And conversely, when it's unpleasant, there's this drive to try to run away from or overcome the people, places, and things that we don't like. So this internal pressure that keeps being shaken up by our thoughts and all of the experiences that we have in life, it drives us into very unmindful behaviors that cause problems for ourselves and other people, such as engaging in road rage. Here in Atlanta, it's very plentiful. Perhaps we find ourselves falling victim to it as well. Perhaps we will then also verbally speak in a way that causes harm to the people closest to us or the people around us, whether that's our family, our friends, our coworkers. Perhaps that internal drive will cause us to seek cheap dopamine through sugary snacks and other types of unhealthy behavior, or perhaps doom scrolling on social media before we fall asleep after 2 hours just scrolling on Instagram. Or perhaps even more detrimental to body and mind is consuming intoxicants that not only toxifies our body, but causes our mind to be dull, causes our entire being to be suppressed. And although we have a momentary joy or inebriation, this comes with both physical and mental detriment in the long term. And ultimately, what we end up doing is constantly seeking short-term pleasures in order to mask the suffering that we experience when we cannot escape all the people, places, and things that we do not like. And we're constantly pulled between these two extremes of chasing and running away and never quite being where we want to be. And so if we don't train the mind properly with wisdom, with mindfulness, with presence, we can fall victim to these things. And it's very easy for us to get swept up in the busyness of life, and our mind is not very stable, and it's very easily affected by the negativity of the world. So how exactly do we support a more meditative mind? How do we create that as a state of being? And I have 3 different steps for all of you. We like steps in Buddhism. We break things down. So I'm going to give you a list. The first thing that we want to try to do is to release and recenter throughout the day with these mini meditations. And I'm going to teach you what are mini meditations, what are some times that you can incorporate them into your daily life. The second thing we want to do is to absorb less from the outside world by adjusting your mental diet. So we consume things with our physical diet by all of the food that we eat, the things that we drink, but we also consume things via the mind. What's all the information that we allow to go into our mind? And this very much can cause us to live in a very unmindful way if we're not careful with how we're spending our attention. And last but not least is a proper meditation sit. And so all of these things, when coupled together, will allow meditation to integrate into who you are more so than just a little 5-minute thing that you cross off on your list every day. So with that, we'll touch upon this quote that is very appropriate for this type of topic, and it'll make things a bit easier for you, is that we only have to meditate 2 times per day. Sounds pretty easy, right? Does anyone know what those 2 times per day is? If someone knows the actual answer, please don't respond. I want to give the people who can make a good guess. Does anyone want to make a guess? Throw out a guess. Anyone? Morning and night. That's a very common thing, and it's a great thing to do, both morning and night, but not the answer I'm looking for. Right now? Now and now? Yes, okay, fair enough. So both of those things are accurate, but what I'm looking for actually is when you close your eyes and when you open your eyes. So all the time. So very easy, right? Just 2 times per day. And again, this is a quote from our master. It's kind of silly, you know. It makes it sound easy, but it's just what it underneath that is the understanding, the proper understanding that meditation is a way to move through life. And the things that we are practicing here, it's why we call it a meditation practice, should be the way that we try to live our life. When the mind strays to things that we don't like and are painful and unpleasant, how can we release that attachment to that negative response and come back in each moment? And instead of indulging in the craving, how do we release and come back to a more neutral observation? So when we want to do these mini meditations, I'll just go over, especially for those of you who are new, what does it look like? So as we've talked about each week that we've been here, is instead of pulling the mind back with this force, with this quickness, with this tension, is we want to take a moment to release the tension that has arisen, because tension is always arising inside of our body and mind. We can call that stress. It's always happening, because when we don't like something and we don't want it, this negation, this tightness of body shows up. This tightness of mind shows up. And the same, when we want something, there's like this excited craving, and it shows up as tension. And so when we can release that tension, is we're releasing that stress simultaneously. But if we don't release the tension first and we just pull the mind back, the tension remains, even if the mind is present. And we always want to incorporate the comfort. We always want to incorporate relaxation. So when we notice that the mind has strayed, again, we bring it back. And the way you can do the different steps we have for relaxation in the outside world, exhaling is very much the same. It's just taking a breath, deep inhale and an exhale, and just imagining that overall tension of body and mind just releasing, like a drawstring pressed on a mesh bag, and around your body and mind it just releases and lets go with the exhale. So we can do this throughout the day, of course, anytime, very accessible to us. When we are meditating, our eyes are closed, so we open them in those 3 different ways, whether fully, whether faintly, just a small opening, or just bringing back some movement to the eyes to release the tension captured in this space. But when we're moving throughout the day, our eyes are already open. So again, when we tap back in to have a little mini meditation, you can just close your eyes very briefly to really release some of the tension, bring the mind back, not engaging so much in the outside world, just for a few brief moments. And that can be very powerful, again, to relax and release. And then the smile, definitely always available to you in the outside world. The more you smile, the world around you really does change. Because if you see someone with a scowl, do they seem approachable to you? Do they seem friendly to you? But if we practice like a genuine smile, it has this uplifting effect on you. And also it's like we bring back our awareness to like how relaxed are we in this moment. And it really can shift things because, we don't see our face, right? Only when you're looking in the mirror. But it's like, what does your face look like right now? Does it look happy? Does it look bright? Does it look cheerful? Or is it more scowled and stern? So practicing this as well can really shift our entire life. So again, these are kind of the tools that we want to use in order to relax before we bring the mind back. And for those of you who were not here for the 7-base progression, don't worry so much about all the details that are coming up on the screen right now and be like, what are all those things? Don't worry about it too much. But if you were here for that time when we talked about this, it can be very helpful that when you come back for these little mini meditations, you can try bringing your awareness back to those 7 bases that we were talking about, filtering them through the pathway of the breath, or just reconnecting with the feeling of your breath. Because again, once we create the relaxation, we have the space, we can bring the mind back with ease as opposed to force. So first we relax and then we return the mind back to our body. And so this is, again, the different things that we can do. And someone had just shared with me that the first stage, where we open and close our eyes 15 to 30 times and releasing, she says she's been doing that throughout the day and it's been super helpful. So sometimes when we close our eyes, there still might be some tension that we're pulling into our practice. But if we open and close them very softly, and she walked in right as I talked about her. So that was very interesting. So every time you close your eyes, you do it a little bit softer. And then this can be opening and closing, and just bringing in a little bit more relaxation into the way in which we close our eyes. So again, these are just some of reminders about what we want to do is first release and then return. So then the question becomes, when do we do this throughout the day? So here's some ideas for you. First is we can do it at the top of every hour. This is something that our master encourages us to do, is at the top of every hour, just bring the mind back to relaxation, bring it back to stillness for 1 minute. And if you want to set like a little reminder on your phone, you can even utilize that as a reminder just to bring the mind back. Maybe it doesn't need to be for a full minute, but we just close our eyes for a few seconds. And then we're right back. We're right back in the present moment. We bring our awareness back to our body. And it's amazing what a few seconds every hour will do to shift your entire awareness throughout the day. Because again, it just reminds us the mind is all out here doing a bunch of stuff. And once every hour, if we can bring it back, it can be a very helpful way for us to bring that continuity of that inner peace into our daily life. Another creative idea is you can wear some type of bracelet. It can be anything, it doesn't matter. But this bracelet is just a reminder. Like every time that you see it, it's a reminder to bring your awareness back to your body. Because again, we're often very detached from our body. We're very much out in the outside world all the time. So your arms are often in front of you, and it's an easy thing to like, it just sweeps across your vision, or you're grabbing something like, oh, that's right. Bring my mind back. You don't even need to close your eyes, but it's just bringing your awareness back to your body, bringing back some relaxation into your day. So this is a helpful like physical thing to remind yourself of that. If you want to wear a necklace as well, it's not necessarily something that you'll see, but you can feel it like as it's moving or it presses against your body. Whatever it is that helps you to a physical object that you wear that reminds you to bring your mind back and anchor it with your body. The next place situation is something that is very, very important, because a lot of times people come up with the excuse of like, I just don't have time to meditate. And this can be a place where, regardless of your schedule, is people can have any excuse at all. But I know that you have this time, and the excuse will not hold, because everyone visits this place every single day. Where is that? The toilet. So, the toilet, it sounds like a joke, it sounds silly, it sounds funny, but this is a place that at least once a day, if we're regular, and if you're not, then maybe you should talk to your doctor. This is beyond my expertise. I'm just training the mind. That's about the body. We gotta go see a doctor if there's any issues there. But for all of us who are regular, is once a day we will visit the toilet. And oftentimes, what we're doing, besides our business, is this: scrolling on our phone. And this is a time when you are all alone. It's a time when you have a break. It's a time that we have access to every single day, and we could be utilizing it to bring our mind back to the present moment. And our master teaches us that this is a very important time to bring the mind back to the body, to practice meditation. And this is a practice that, again, it can totally shift your awareness, your day-to-day awareness, because we always have this time. So my challenge to all of you is, for the next week or forever, is try not pulling out your phone when you go to the bathroom, and instead just bring your mind back to your body and just observe. There are physical things happening, so you can pay attention to sensation. Just bringing your awareness back to your body. And the more relaxed you are, the better things are going to go. So this is actually, it sounds, again, silly, but it's a very transformative practice. And it's something we can practice every single day. So as a kind of recap of the ways in which we can release and recenter throughout the day, is at the top of every hour, using an alarm if you would like. You can also wear a bracelet to remind you every time that you see it, is to bring your mind back to your body to release. Whenever you are using the restroom, like Elmo here. And last but not least, anytime that you remember and you notice that you're stressed. So this is, again, it's a practice that once you start cultivating it, is you're going to remember more often. And when you know that even a few seconds is valuable, and it's not like you have to wait for a 5-minute stretch. It's not even you have to wait for a full minute. You can bring it back for a few seconds, and it can have a massive impact on your life. So that's the first thing that we want to talk about, to integrate meditation into your life as a state of being, as opposed to just on your actual sits. So the next thing is to work on our mental diet, to absorb less from the outside world. So here are some key reflections to help you reflect: what is my current diet, and what might I be able to reduce or eliminate? So first is the information that we consume, whether that's social media or the news. This stuff is designed to trigger your emotions, because the most valuable thing in the world is your attention. There are tech companies spending billions of dollars trying to figure out how to capture your attention and hold your attention. So when we allow our attention to go somewhere, we think that we're not losing something valuable, but it is the most valuable thing that we have in life. What we focus on, what we allow our attention to gravitate to and sit with, that's what we become. And so the first thing to do is just to be very careful and just to assess over this next week. Just assess. Maybe don't make changes yet, but just assess what is the information that I consume and how does it affect my mind? And the last question is, do I really need to know this? That's a very important question, because there's a lot of people who make you think that you need to be informed about everything that's happening. But is that true? How important to your daily decisions are the things that we're consuming? That's something to assess. And that's a question that only we can answer. So over the next week or so, just assess and see what is our current consumption of information. Also, the people that we associate with. They often say that we're a product of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So how much time do we spend with specific friends, with family members, with coworkers, and how does us spending time with them affect our mind? Sometimes we might find that we really connect with someone, but every time we're with them, we're just gossiping about other people. And sure, that's fun, but is it helpful? Is it healthy? And I think we already know the answer to that question. And so I'm not telling you to cut people off, although sometimes it might be necessary to. And in case you want to, I believe Venerable Nick just made a video about that. Wasn't that released last week?
Yes.
Okay. So, how to remove toxic people from your life. That was one of his most recent videos, so little self-promotion there. If you want to go more deeply into that, he's made a video for you. So, either eliminating or reducing toxic presences within your life. Also, how do we spend our time doing entertainment or leisure activities? Are they just helping to dull the pain while simultaneously dulling our mind? Or is it something that's actually rejuvenating and recharging and good for us? So those are something to take note of. Also, the places that you frequent. Are they uplifting? Are they inspiring? Do they reconnect you with yourself, or do they do the opposite? So once we start to release and to eliminate or to reduce, reflect on some healthy alternatives to replace. So instead of unhelpful information, social media, and news, is we can start consuming inspirational books, podcasts, or other media. Venerable Nick's YouTube channel, I'm going to keep promoting. So associate with wise, healthy people, engage in healthy, rejuvenating leisure activities, and spend time in healthy environments. So first we assess, we release, and we replace. So this is how we can adjust our mental diet. Last but not least, we need to shower the mind every single day. So we shower the body because it collects contaminants from the outside world. We also must shower the mind through practicing meditation because, again, we are collecting a lot of contaminants from everything that we absorb through our 5 senses and we allow our mind to fixate upon. So every single day, we practice meditation. So the question is, why is daily meditation so important? Because even knowing these steps of bringing our awareness back, you're not going to remember it. You'll forget because life is busy, it gets crazy, you have a long to-do list, and you will forget. But what happens when we practice meditation every single day? It gives us the opportunity to take this glass that's full of contaminants and constantly stirring to just put it down. And once we put the glass down, all of the dust starts to settle. And what that creates within your mind is space. We need more space for what to arise? For awareness to arise. If you notice, when you're meditating and your mind wanders, how does it come back? You just become aware. Did you do that? You didn't do that. It just arises. There's a remembering. It happens automatically, and that's the start of the process. If we don't have awareness, we can't relax. Nothing starts until we have awareness. And so when we meditate, we're creating the space for awareness to arise, to become aware that we're feeling stressed, to become aware that we need to relax, to become aware that the mind is even outside and it needs to come back. That's the start of the process. And so the more that you meditate every single day, the more you will notice when the mind has strayed, when the mind is not at ease. And that gives you the opportunity to make a new choice, to release, to relax, and bring the mind back. So that's why it's so important. And as you do this, we all have this tendency, the greed, anger, and delusion within the mind, is when we do not practice the mind effectively, is the greed, anger, and delusion will shine through in the way that we decide to, in the decisions that we make, in the way that we think, in the way that we speak, in the way that we behave. But when we start to practice meditation, you give that brighter side of yourself, the mind that is already pure and bright, you give it the opportunity to shine through in the way that we show up in the world. So instead of greed, we show up with generosity. Instead of anger, we show up with loving kindness, with patience, with understanding. Instead of delusion, we operate with wisdom. So these are the things that when you create the space for this to happen, it will. And it's just like the sun on a cloudy day. Is the sun still shining on a cloudy day? Is it still shining just as brightly? Yes, it is. But the issue is there's a layer of clouds in between us and the sun that is keeping us from seeing its rays and feeling its warmth. And in the same way, our own mind, it's bright, it's pure, it's luminous, it's happy, it's positive. But all of the cloudiness that comes from the outside world is keeping us from feeling that. It's keeping other people from feeling that from us. But when we cultivate the mind, is the clouds clear? And this is what shows up. A nice, beautiful, perfectly drawn sun, right? I could have done a very well animated one, but I liked this sun the best. So this is how the mind shines through. And what's important to keep in mind is that life is just a continuous stream of brief moments where small choices make the biggest difference. And there's always these moments where we can make these very small choices that shift our entire world and the world of everyone around us. So everyone's trying to do these big grand gestures of like save the world and do this and that. It happens in the little moments. It happens in the way that we show up every single day. And when we practice meditation, this is how we can show up. And cultivating that neutral observation, it creates more space within the mind for that goodness to shine through, creates more clarity to allow us to make decisions that benefit ourselves and other people and create less suffering for ourselves and others. And it allows us to have contentment. Instead of chasing after everything that we want somewhere in the future, over this next goal or mountain to climb, or running, once I get rid of this thing that I don't like and I don't want, again, we're constantly pulled between our preferences and we're never able to discover the contentment that's already here if we just allow that relaxation to release. The tight grip of our preferences starts to loosen, and we can see that in this moment, despite its imperfections, we can still be at peace. And that's another word for contentment, is peace. And that's what we're all looking for, right? If otherwise you wouldn't be here. So this is really what I want to leave with you, is that there's a lot of tools at our disposal that allows us to discover like really what we already have access to. So this is, hopefully you can see how when sitting with your eyes closed and it feels like you're just thinking about things and maybe wasting time and I could be doing just understand it's so much deeper than what it seems. And you're literally rewiring your mind, your brain to perceive life differently. And that is the basis through which all positive change can happen in your life. So hopefully, all of the things that we've talked about over the past 4 weeks is like there are all these tools to understand this. Why do we need it? We need it every single day because of this. This life is difficult, and this equips us to handle what life throws at us with more grace and ease. So, yeah, that is my little talk. It was less about the specific practices of meditation, but more how it can integrate into your life. But with all that talk about the theory, I believe it is now time for some practice. So let us all prepare to meditate together.